Hi guys, this is 2010 Ford Escape. We're going to go ahead and replace the ignition switch today. This was the auction vehicle I bought last winter. And it's been a pretty good running vehicle. Everything works on it. Lately the ignition switch has been not acting correct. Sometimes you turn the key, it doesn't start. You redo it, it starts again. It's a known problem with these. So we're going to go ahead and replace that. Okay, this is the ignition switch, part number 924-867. It's a Dorman part. I think I spent about 30 bucks for it, and we'll go ahead and with our procedure to install it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is unhook our battery. Always unhook your ground first. That way if you had your ratchet or your wrench on your ground and you hit something that was grounded, it's just ground to ground. There's not going to be any arcing or sparking. That's why you always remove your ground first when you unhook a battery. And we're just going to leave it off. It's kind of dirty on the terminal, so we're going to clean that up before we put it back together. But it's just always a good idea to remove a battery, especially when we're working around the ignition switch, the airbag is there, all that stuff. If everything's unhooked, then it makes it a lot safer to do. So you want to release your steering wheel adjuster, and you want to grab this panel down here. You want to remove that. And then you will see this last bolt here. So you had 1, 2, and then now this third one. And then we'll be able to remove this lower cover. They'll hold the bottom section on. It's 7/32 is the size. So let's remove those. You want to take the second one out. Then you want to take this upper section out. Set that out of the way. Okay, so this is the ignition switch here. It's just underneath the multi-purpose switch. If you look at the new one, you can see which part that is there. And then on the new one, it has clips there that push in on both sides. So we'll have to push those to release it. We can cut this zip tie here and unplug that wire if we need to, just to get a little more room. And then we'll try to unclip that. So I'm gonna try to get in the picture here and show you. There's just a little tab here. You can unplug that wire. And if you can see, there's a little tab right here you push in, and this wire comes out. And now we can see where the wire goes into the ignition switch here, and there's just a tab there that I can push. It's hard to do it without getting my hand in the way. See how that slides out? And that's the wire to the ignition switch. So now we just have to unclip that. So this multi-function switch here is a really tight tolerance. When you unclip this, see if I can do it with this hand. And then clip it, and you can just kind of pull it and rotate it out like so. And then you can see there is a top and bottom to how that keys in here. See, the top is more narrow and the bottom's a little wider. And so we'll have to put the new one back on just the way we took that one out. So another reason for unplugging those few wire harnesses is you can sneak this in the front like so, and then carefully rotate it in, and then it clips in, and then you don't take any of the other stuff apart. So you don't take any of the multifunction apart, you just have to kind of finesse it in and out, and then plug back in your wire here. your ignition switch wire, and then the little plug on the top. So you grab your ignition switch wire. Make sure it clicks. You can see the tab right inside here, so you'll know if it's in or not. You'll be able to see it here. You hear that clip in. You take the one that went across the front, and that clips in as well. And then make sure you put a new zip tie here so that holds that wire in place. I'm going to zip tie this brown wire up just so it doesn't get snagged on anything. It was just kind of loose there. But just for good measure, I'll just kind of run it with a zip tie on it and get that out of the way. So we'll replace this zip tie here. Hold that wire up in place. It's nice that it goes on like that. And make sure you use a pair of flush cuts. And then we'll put a zip tie on that brown wire. And then we'll be done. So that's everything buttoned back up. We'll go ahead and hook the battery back up, and we'll test it before we put the plastic back on. Make sure everything's good to go, then we'll put our plastic on. And it's a runner. So I am going to unhook the battery again because I do want to clean it because the terminal was dirty on it. But I just want to test this before I put the plastic back on. So we'll put that back together and then we'll clean the battery. So we'll let the ground cable sit in this cup full of baking soda and hot water. Just let it sit in there and clean it up a little bit. You can turn it's already blue and nasty looking. So it's doing its job, it's cleaning it. We'll clean this terminal. And we'll just let that sit while we're putting the plastics back together. So we'll set the bottom one partially up to start with. So make sure you get your tilt handle in place here under the bottom piece. And then that'll slide up in place. And then we'll get the top piece on there. And we'll just take our top piece, come down over our bottom piece. It's just going to clip in there, and it's going to clip in there. So then after you clip it together, we can put the 3 bolts or screws back into it, and then we'll put that bottom piece. So we're just going to tighten up these 3 bolts. Here, here, and here. Okay, so cleaned up this ground connector here. Then I'll put some anti-corrosive on there of some sort. But now we have a nice clean, our power one look nice and clean already. So we'll just make sure we put something on it to keep it from corroding for over the winter time till we have to clean it again. And that's a wrap. And everything's back together on this side. And now everything works. Alright, well thanks for watching.